Greetings, all you Jackson Jennets, and welcome to your daily dose of donkey with Ginger. Just donkey coming at you tonight because I had Laskers on earlier. Completely forgot I needed to do the show. Didn't hit up Gingy. This is all slacking on me. We're all still reveling in the Steelers' embarrassing loss to the team see here, the Kansas City Chiefs. And if you're curious why I have the Chiefs playing the Bucks right now, those are the two teams I think are going to win this Sunday's games that are about to happen. And honestly, my two teams I think are going to go to the Super Bowl again because I like both these teams. I like both these quarterbacks. Had to say, Saturday night games went just like I thought. I expected Cincy to win. I don't believe in that Tennessee team. They're much like last year's Steelers team. I think they got exposed at the end of the year, and people started saying, hey, Tannehill, good luck beating us. And you saw what happened, just like people did with Ben. And then, I don't know why, but I felt San Francisco with that pass rush was going to beat Green Bay because I knew it was going to be cold. And I don't mean to be mean to Aaron Rodgers here, but much like Ben, since that Super Bowl game, has not played very well in the playoffs in terms of winning football games. Both him and Ben, since that Super Bowl they played against each other, have struggled in the playoffs. And I just don't feel like Aaron Rodgers is super committed. I am a huge fan of Kyle Shanahan. I thought that San Francisco team would come in ready to use Debo in weird ways and get the ball to Kittle. Not really what happened. Huge block punt, huge block field goal. That's what leads to them winning. So, San Francisco wins. Cincy wins. Only game I've picked wrong in the playoffs so far is I thought the Arizona Cardinals were going to beat the LA Rams, but I think Stafford comes up a little short against Tom Brady. But who knows? Maybe this is the year Stafford proves all the Stafford lovers right and comes out and takes it to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't see it happening. I think if the Rams are going to win, it's going to be more from the running game. But there's a lot of injuries on that Tampa secondary, so maybe it's one of those games that we could see the defense on the Rams make the difference because they can make one or two stops against Brady, whereas Tampa's defense can't stop Stafford. Now, on the other side, you got a good game, Buffalo, Kansas City. I just feel Kansas City has the edge in coaching here. I feel the teams are very similar. I think Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy are going to be able to make an offense that Buffalo struggles with, and Buffalo tends to struggle when they get behind. That's why if you look, most of their wins are blowout wins this year, and close games they tend to struggle in. I think that Kansas City team's on fire if you watch the game, and I'll get into breaking that down. I think you got the Chiefs. And next week, I'll make sure I get the episode out so everyone can hear my predictions before they happen, since I seem to be kind of slacking on doing things I should get done. But I'm going to try to get better about it. I'm sorry, Donk Nation. It's not what I mean to do, but it is what it is. Now let's get into Pittsburgh Steelers season ends exactly how I kind of thought it would in best case scenario. So you know what? Looking back on the year, I'm not overly sad because when everybody heard me in the offseason or heard early season, what I said was this is an 8-8-1 football team. They turned out better, 9-7-1, got into the playoffs. But I said they're a team that if a few teams get hurt, they could luck into a few more wins and get into getting a first round one and done scenario where they get blown out. Well, it happened. One and done scenario, get blown out. I think Ben Roethlisberger takes a hit to his legacy here. And the reason I say that is people who are under the age of like 20 are not going to remember him for being a Super Bowl champ, a big clutch Super Bowl guy. They're going to remember him for a guy who just comes up short in the playoffs, does not manage to win those big games in the postseason. He has a terrible record since that last Super Bowl against Rodgers. And these last 2 years, back-to-back embarrassments. I mean, when you come back this year, you can't let last year repeat, and that's what happened. I think Ben threw for 24 yards in the first half. It wasn't all on him, but he had some open receivers he didn't make, and when you're the big, high-paid guy on the team, you're the franchise face, those are the plays you have to make. It just didn't happen. Ben shouldn't have come back for this year, in my personal opinion. I think it hurts his legacy, and it kind of looks like he was a little statistical chasing. I know that's not Ben, but that's what a lot of people, I think, are going to say when you look at these last couple years of a quarterback who clearly just did not have an NFL skill set anymore. Say what you want, he had a great career. I love Ben. He's a Hall of Famer, first ballot, no doubt. But these last couple years, he just was not an NFL starting caliber quarterback. I will stick with that. I will always stick with that. It showed the end of last year when teams started to realize he couldn't throw over the top, and then it continued this whole year, which is why things got worse. The other part I have to break down the game is the Pittsburgh Steelers should have never scored a defensive touchdown because that was the turning point. We see Cam knock a fumble out of a guy who just picked up the ball, knocks it out. TJ Watt, scoop and score. We're doing awesome. We already had an interception by Devin Bush at this time. Our offense can't move the ball, but that doesn't matter because the defense just scored a touchdown. That is the turning point. That is what's going to make this Steelers thing happen. And yes, it was the turning point. Because after that, the Kansas City Chiefs offense woke up. Next thing you know, it's like 28-7, and you're like, I really hate this because it's just like last year's game. The Steelers, you go in with last year we went in with hope, but after the first quarter, there was no hope. But then they made a little bit of a comeback, and you're like, yay, hope again at the start of the fourth quarter, and then it's just crushed. This one was more like, you come in with no hope. The end of the first quarter happens. You just scored an offense or a defensive touchdown. You're like, there's hope, there's hope, there's hope. And then halftime happened, and you're like, well, that quickly escalated out of hand. It just a glaring show of the differences. Kansas City had a bunch of speed. The Steelers didn't have speed to keep up with it. It showed. It was bad, and it was a long day for our Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, I hope Ben decides to retire. He hasn't said anything yet. Everything seems to be playing that way, though. I hope they take the whole cap this year. He's had a great career. Call it quits. Don't hurt your legacy any more than you have by coming back once. And just let it walk off with a painful loss, because it is the way it's going to be. We're not going to change reality. It hurts. Not the way I wanted the season to end, but you know what? When I look back at it, like I said, this is what I thought the ceiling for this the ceiling for this team was. Kudos to Mike Tomlin, all those guys for getting it out there, getting it done. Ben Roethlisberger, all the players, all the coaches, meeting in my opinion, their max potential. So I got to give a kudos for them for doing that. Time for a big overhaul, if not a complete rebuild right now. We clearly were outclassed in the playoffs and clearly been outclassed almost every time we played a winning team this year. And hey, onward to next year for us. But there are still football games, so I'll get into them a little bit. Like I said, you have Chiefs, Bills. I already told you what I think is going to happen. I think the big difference for here is I think Travis Kelce has himself a game. I think he's going to be a big part. And I think Mecole Hardman has one or two huge splash plays for him too. And I think that's the difference for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now on the Tampa Bay side of the ball, it's Mike Evans. It's going to be Mike Evans. And you know what? I'm going to say maybe Scotty Miller gets some time. And just like I did last year, every time that kid seems to be on the field, he just seems to catch a 45-yard pass from Tom Brady. I think that's huge. I think Matthew Stafford does what Matthew Stafford does, which is in a primetime, big-time game. Throws a couple interceptions. Nice to see him finally get a playoff win and get off that snide for like most career wins without a playoff win or touchdowns, whatever his stat was. So he had a lot of it and never won a game. So kudos to Matthew Stafford for that. Some other Steeler news going on around. I mean, Omar Khan was the Steelers' cap guru guy who a lot of people think is going to take over for Kevin Colbert. He's interviewing for the Bears GM spot. Hope we can keep him, I guess, but I don't know. I'm not afraid of changing things up because the status quo hasn't really led to much playoff success in the past decade, so maybe a change-up is good there. Keith Butler finally stepping down, which I say good riddance because all these, whether or not it's him calling it or Tomlin, the thing is he is the defensive coordinator. If he's not calling the plays, he needs to let people know that, hey, this isn't what I want to do if he's against it. I understand that's not what you want to do if your head coach is doing it, but this plain vanilla zones and praying our pass rush gets home is what gets this team killed every time they play good teams. So I am not sad to see Keith Butler retire. Great career for him. He's done a hell of a job with the outside linebackers here and has coached some pretty good defenses that just seem to come up short in the big times due to one injury or whatever, and honestly have gotten run all over the last couple of years, which is hard to see because no one even runs the football anymore. But it sounds like Terrell Austin is the guy who's number one to take that spot, and I'm just like, yay, more promotion from within, because heaven forbid we bring in some new ideas, because clearly we are getting stagnant, but it is what it is. Hopefully all the coaches who get brought up do good. Hopefully if we keep Matt Canada, he gets to have a good second year. Some fun exit interviews out there from some guys. Cam Hayward had a pretty good one about all the blame going on him. It just shows you who Cam Hayward is and what he's all about. Mason Rudolph, to me, had a really good one, and I saw a little bit of fire. Maybe he's ready to take over a leadership role and do something. We'll see. Hopefully we bring in some competition. If he's the best, he should get the shot. If he's not, then he should sit on the bench. A little underwhelmed when I listened to Dwayne Haskins. A little tired of the same old Tomlin speech. Like, clearly the standard hasn't been good enough, so maybe this whole standard is the standard thing. Maybe we need to step it up a little bit. But that's neither here nor there. That's a little nitpicky for me. Anyway, that's all I have. I covered the Steelers loss the best I could. I gave you my best preview for the next two games. I'm looking Chiefs-Bucks to win there. And then if Chiefs-Bucks wins, I'd pick them next week. But if they don't, obviously I have to pick someone else. Tune in. I'll be doing an episode Friday so I can get it out in time for all of y'all. Maybe early Saturday. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe late Saturday if the games are Sunday. I honestly don't remember what time championship week is. I'll look it up on Sunday, so I'll figure it out tomorrow. Time for me to give a shout-out. Obviously, end of an era. Shout-out has to go to any Steeler who's not coming back, who gave their heart and soul out there. The main guys I'm looking at here are Ben Roethlisberger, great career, Hall of Fame career, and Keith Butler. Good defensive coordinator, nothing great. You give him the players, he can make it happen. But you know what? That's what a guy needs to be able to do. He did his job well for the most part, but just really struggled to deal with the way modern-day offenses are framed, and it showed when we played elite teams in the playoffs. But got to give a shout-out. He's given his time. He's developed some great linebackers. Don't forget, he still is the outside linebackers coach, I believe. So he's the guy out there coaching up the guys like TJ Watt, getting a little bit out of Alex Highsmith, developing Bud Dupree. That was all him. It's going to be a little hard to see him go for that reasoning, but hopefully it's onward to bigger and better things for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's all I got for you. Short, quick. Next week I'll be in with a better preview. I'll have all the big breakdown of the championship game, how I think teams are going to get to the Super Bowl. Maybe we'll bring in Laskers and Gingy, hopefully, so they can give their take on how the Steelers season ended next week, because I gave all I can give. I mean, there's not much to explain there. What you thought was going to happen happened. There's not much to break down, and it just 24 passing yards in the first half just doesn't cut it in a modern-day game, especially when your opponent's putting up 300 something. I think the third quarter at one point is 344 total yards to 44. It hurts. Not the greatest time to be a Steelers fan, but hey, there's next year. Micah and Jordy still think we have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. I told them it had to be next year. They don't quite seem to grasp that yet, but it is what it is. I appreciate y'all for tuning in, listening to my little inner monologue, dialogue thing going on. Hope y'all tune in next week. Get a little fun with it. Hopefully I have Gingy and Laskers back. Again, I know Laskers was ready. It was all my fault on that part. But I am the Viking Donkey. It's Viking_Donkey on Twitch and Twitter. It's your daily dose of donkey with Ginger on the YouTube. Leave us a like, leave us a comment, leave us a follow. Let us know if there's anything you want us to talk about. Any new content you want added. Any content you think doesn't work. We love to hear. I love the feedback. I appreciate all of it, whether it's negative, positive. That stuff's awesome. Donk Nation, keep it real. Steeler Nation, wave them if you got them. Because the end of an era, boys. End of an era.